To say that this year's recipient of the Brother Moore Schaefer Award is a model of servant leadership is a gross understatement of his gifts to our school community. Mr. Michael Lynn, whom we honor today, is the epitome of the leadership that we challenge our students to rise to every day. His is also the leadership that his colleagues aspire to every day. And much of that aspiration derives from working right alongside Michael and following his model. He truly embodies the phrase in our school prayer, selfless service of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart, doing the yeoman's work of our community, all in an effort to help form students to good, regardless of the task or role at hand. As we all know well, the Brother Moore Schaefer Faculty Recognition Award is not an annual Teacher of the Year award. The selection committee is charged with selecting a member of our faculty nominated by his or her peers who demonstrates excellence in instruction, commitment to formation of our students, and demonstration of Christian witness in all that he or she does as a role model for our students, both inside and outside of the classroom. In his 13 years at Brother Martin, Michael has served in roles as varied as Brother Moore himself: 7th grade English and history teacher, world geography teacher, American history teacher, co-moderator of our drama club, the Dionysians, student council co-moderator, assistant dean of students, co-director of faculty formation. And this list is not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination. It really only begins to scratch the surface of what Michael does for Brother Martin. 2 years ago, he slid into the role of football film manager, a position he still holds to this day. And this past summer, as we started in just weeks before the current school year, after Debbie Broussard took on 3 math classes in addition to her role as assistant principal for academics, Michael asked, was rejected, and eventually insisted on taking some of Debbie's responsibilities, in addition to his work in faculty formation, student council, and the social studies department. In his role in faculty formation, along with Thomas Maber, Michael has led the implementation of our school's academic improvement plan, while also working as a liaison to the Advancement and Alumni Relations Office. Michael has a hand in seemingly every facet of our school. His roles have been varied, his impact on our students immeasurable. When we announced Michael as this year's recipient to the student body following that school-wide liturgy, the announcement was met with, as you would expect, raucous applause from everyone in the gym, mostly from our students. So I was standing on the east end of the gym, if you can picture the gym, closest to the Ridgely Center. And I delivered my remarks describing the recipient with the build-up to the actual name, Michael Lynn. And as I announced Michael Lynn, it takes Michael a good while to meet me and Greg at the podium to congratulate him. And the reason it took so long is that Michael was on the west end of the gym, closest to the Benson Mall, inside the closet in the basketball locker room, controlling the microphone and the technology for the liturgy and for the announcement of himself as the recipient of our most prestigious honor the school bestows. And that is typical of Michael. In whatever time, in whatever place he serves. Nothing matters, and I mean nothing, matters more to Michael at Brother Martin than whatever is needed in any given moment. One of his colleagues said this about Michael: when something needs to be done, he doesn't think twice. He simply responds to whatever the call or need might be at the time. He is truly a servant leader. But this commitment and work ethic runs much, much deeper than what we've witnessed at Brother Martin. Michael's wife, Katie, was an assistant manager at Reginelli's Pizza while she was in college and while she and Michael were dating. This was, the story that Katie tells me was immediate post-Katrina. So the city's struggling and there's really no rules. That was obviously a really long time ago. So Michael often would go to Reginelli's at the end of the night to pick up Katie at the end of her shift. So night after night, Michael would walk into Reginelli's and wait for Katie to finish cleaning the restaurant so they could leave together. So one night, Michael decides that everyone could leave earlier if they had more hands on deck. So before you know it, Michael's in the kitchen cleaning dishes so that everyone could leave earlier than they would have originally. Apparently, this dates all the way back to Katie's time in high school as a lifeguard, when Michael would show up at the country club and he started cleaning the bathrooms and taking out the trash so the lifeguard he was dating could leave work earlier and spend more time with him. So what seemed like a noble pursuit at first obviously had a little bit more of a story to it. If only we had known 13 years ago that we would one day arrive here, Michael's journey to becoming a faculty member might have been a little bit less, let's say, colorful. So here's a question for the faculty. Raise your hand if you were interviewed for employment at Brother Martin by Thomas Maber. There's a few hands. How about Justin Fleetwood? Debbie Broussard? A few hands. How about Gabrielle Macaluso? Ian Schupak? Maybe even John Devlin. Anyone interviewed by John Devlin? Look at the number of hands in the room. Now raise your hand if you had an interview for employment at Brother Martin with Ricky Newsline. Melanie, Michael, a few people. 13 years later, after Michael's interview with Ricky Newsline, by the grace of God, Michael is teaching at Brother Martin. And I say that because Michael had possibly the most arduous, rigorous, and thorough interview process of any of us in this room. It appears that Ricky, imagine this if you can, was hell-bent, was going to stop at nothing to find a reason why we should not hire Michael Wynn. There was the interview. Then there was the second interview. Then Ricky drove to Grace King to observe Michael's student teaching. Then Ricky made Michael drive to Brother Martin to teach a social studies class. Then he had Michael chaperone a world geography field experience that included walking the neutral grounds of Elysian Fields Avenue with 240 8th grade students whom Michael did not know. Ricky threw everything at Michael, and Michael, as you would expect, nailed it all. None of us who know Michael or who knew Ricky are surprised by that story. Ricky was a master teacher, a recipient of this very same award. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was forming Michael before Michael even had a contract in his hand. And Michael did in that interview process what he has done since August 9th, 2010, his first day in the classroom at Brother Martin. He's done whatever is asked of him. He's done more than what was asked of him, and he's done it all out of a deep love for the students at Brother Martin. I truly believe that Ricky pushed Michael so far in that interview process because Ricky knew that Michael could handle it, and he knew that Michael had it. And Ricky knew all of that in part because he was able to watch Michael grow while he was a student at Brother Martin. For those of us who did graduate from Brother Martin, Cor Jesu, or St. Aloysius, we know that our ministry here as partners in mission is really an extension of our formative years as students at these schools, an extension of the formation we received in high school. Michael and I were at Brother Martin at the same time, briefly. He was in 8th grade when I was a senior. So we didn't really know one another in our time together as students on Elysian Fields, though we shared the campus. But I've heard stories of Michael's time at Brother Martin, and one story in particular strikes me as particularly poignant today as we honor him, and particularly poignant because of the man I know Michael to be and the man whom I deeply admire and respect. And that poignancy stems from the story of Michael's being cast as Charlie Brown. in one of the Dionysians productions in his senior year of high school. Is there a better example of typecast than of Michael Lynn as Charlie Brown? It's poignant because Charlie Brown is the eternal optimist. Charlie Brown always expects the best outcome. Charlie Brown sees the best in and trusts in the goodness of those around him. And Charlie Brown has hope. In the halls of Brother Martin High School, for our current students and those who have graduated and had the fortune to spend their formative years alongside him, Michael Lynn is the epitome in our school of hope. The general chapter of the Worldwide Institute of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart will convene in Rome this May. And in preparation for that chapter, the brothers have asked the students in their schools this question: what in your lives and in your schools awakens hope within you? At Brother Martin, that answer is Michael. Andre Quandra, the founder of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart, once wrote to Brother Borgia, "Don't forget the young men whom you are training, and who in the world will forget neither the lessons you have taught them, nor your own virtue. Though right now they might not seem to be all that you would like them to be, they are retaining more than you think." When you work with Michael long enough, you see Quandra's words in action, in the ways in which Michael works with his students, especially in the years that he worked in the discipline office as Dean of Students. One of Michael's colleagues said this about Michael in that realm of his work specifically: Michael is a builder. He works to build trusting relationships with the students, patiently turning each student away from recklessness and pointing them toward a Christian model of behavior. He has successfully formed countless reckless students to good. This same colleague also said this: oftentimes in a discipline committee meeting that Michael was leading, as he was explaining why he had called the meeting and detailing the actions of the student that led him to that committee, I would think to myself, why did it take so long to have this meeting? What took so long? Michael Lynn took so long. The pedagogy of trust says, when we have done all that we can, we have done all that we must. Michael is the pedagogy of trust personified. In the words of this colleague, eventually I would come to realize the extent to which Michael had gone to build a relationship with this student and form him. Weekly meetings with the student, guidance counselor, parents, always checking on the student's academic, emotional, and social progress, always trying to instruct and to reach the young man. He truly does all that he can for our students, especially the reckless ones. A parent of two boys, one who has graduated from Brother Martin and another who is a current student, told me that she asked her sons what she thought about Mr. Lynn, the disciplinarian. The immediate response: we love him. The young people entrusted to our care need strong Christian witnesses in their lives, modeling what it means to be Christ-like, to live like Jesus did. Partners in Mission says about Andre Quandra, his faith led him to see the suffering of young people in his own day as an opportunity for him and his partners to be expressions of God's love and healing presence. Michael truly believes in the mission of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart, in rescuing young people, offering them a sanctuary. He always has faith in our students. As a Christian witness for our school community, Michael is a lay partner who embodies the call of the brothers themselves to create supportive communities of prayer and service where all are respected and treated with compassion. Michael and I have worked closely now for many years, and never more closely than the years we spent together in the discipline and attendance office. In the last few months of our time together in that office, before Michael would become the assistant principal for discipline and attendance, I started handing off duties to Michael under the guise that it was part of his formation. The joke was that this is really just all the stuff I didn't want to deal with in the office anymore. But the truth was that I really just wanted to get out of his way because he was that good. And if I had ever taught him anything in our years together in that office, that time had ended. I was learning more from him than he was from me. And so I was getting out of his way so that I could watch as part of his formation. But it was really part of mine. And now I want to do that again, what I did in the discipline office, and get out of his way. So at this time, I ask Mr. Rando and Mr. David Gallo to come forward as we congratulate Michael Wynn on his devotion to Father Andre Quandra's character and the brother's educational tradition as our Brother Moore Schaefer Award recipient for excellence in instruction, commitment to formation, and dedication to Christian witness. Michael.
Thank you all very much. Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Rando, Mr. Gallo, and all the members of the board of directors, I can't thank you enough. I never set out in my career to be recognized for my service to our school. I honestly cannot believe that my name is now on the list of so many outstanding educators who've received this recognition. I genuinely love Brother Martin High School. I love our students, and I love all of you. As Brother Ivy put it, we don't go to work, we get to go to school every day, and I'm so glad that I get to go to school with you. In sheer grace, the Superior General of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart, Brother Mark Hilton, wrote that our history is filled with the stories of our predecessors and how they have been faithful to the grace given to them. In the various roles that I've served in, I've been fortunate to work closely with our school leaders. I cannot stand here today without recognizing the incredible men and women who have led our school. When I was asked to move into the discipline office and serve the school as the assistant disciplinarian, part of me was intimidated by not knowing what the new position would entail. My anxious feelings were quickly put to rest as soon as I started to work with Ryan Gallagher. He was always calm and confident. I built confidence in my new work by following his lead and learning from his example. When Ryan became principal, I was only ready to become the dean of students because he prepared me. Mr. Rando has always shared his wisdom and experience with me. He often reminds us of our responsibility to ensure the charism of Father Andre Quandra and the educational traditions of the Brothers of the Sacred Heart are forefront in all that we do at Brother Martin. Mr. Rando has very high expectations. Again, I think they're very high expectations, and some of you know that. And those are not expectations that he wants us to meet for his benefit. He pushes us to do that and to strive for excellence in everything we do, because our students and our families deserve it. I can speak for all of us when I say that we are blessed to have Ryan and Greg leading us in our work. There are so many other leaders that have influenced me as well. Many things stand out about Mr. Devlin, but I will never forget that he mailed a note to my wife the day that it was announced that I would serve the school as Dean of Students. His note to Katie illustrated his belief in me as I was about to take on more responsibilities at school. Over the years, Mr. Devlin has always encouraged me, and I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to learn from you. From my time as a student and young teacher, and still to this day, Mrs. Gabrielle Macaluso has always guided and supported me. One of my favorite memories of working with Ms. Mac is when she was assistant principal for student services, and she would drop everything that she was doing to help the student council paint signs. She certainly had other things that were more important than painting Crimson Crush or Blue Jays in a bird cage, but she would stop what she was doing to work with us. In those moments, she was not just helping paint signs, but teaching me what it meant to be a servant leader. This is just one of the many lessons that I've learned from Ms. Macaluso. Thank you so much for being here today. During my first few years of teaching, Justin Fleetwood taught me many things about classroom management. Still, when I share advice with new faculty members today, I draw from what I learned from Justin. He's always been a model of consistency and reliability. His commitment to providing personal attention to our faculty and students and alums now is evident in all that he does for Brother Martin High School. Two words immediately come to mind when I think of Carlos Bogron: all in. This slogan we see on the wall or on our students' t-shirts is brought to life by Carlos and all that he does for Brother Martin. I sat next to Carlos on my very first in-service day as I prepared to teach in what was our 7th grade program back in 2010. Back then and still today, I'm grateful to get to work with him every day. Kelly Alexander's hard work cannot go unnoticed. She spends her entire day, every day, ensuring that things run smoothly at Brother Martin. She makes things happen. Personally, she has been someone that I can always go to for advice. If I don't know how to do something, I know I can go to Kelly. As a matter of fact, when I wanted someone to look at my remarks for today, I went to Kelly. Kelly, thank you for everything that you do for Brother Martin, especially all that you do for me. Jerry Urson and I worked together for a few years in the discipline office. And before that, we were part of the unofficial school spirit squad. We worked on events like Seder-Palooza that some of you might remember. Seder-Palooza featured a varsity soccer game right after school, then a tailgate where we allowed seniors to bring their own barbecue bits on campus. Then the varsity basketball in the gym, followed by a junior high dance that ended at 11:30. It was a crazy idea, but we pushed forward to have the event because we knew it would be a memorable experience for our students. Jerry, thank you for countless memorable experiences. Thank you for being my colleague and for being my friend. I had a hard time thinking about what to say about Mrs. Broussard. She's always willing to share experiences as a teacher, a former high school disciplinarian, academic assistant principal, and as a parent with me. She is my work mom, and I hope that I'm one of her favorite Michaels. Ms. Broussard, thank you for always caring for me. My friends and family who are here today have always supported me. My dad and mom sacrificed so much to ensure my sisters Michelle and Gretchen and I received a Catholic education. They worked overtime and picked up extra jobs to have the three of us in the best schools to prepare us for life. Still today, my parents will do anything and everything for me and my sisters. Now that I'm a parent to Sutton and Eliza, I better understand why they always put their children first. Mom and Dad, thank you for being amazing parents and for being the best Nana and Pops to my daughters. My wife, Katie, attended her first Brother Martin event with me in August 2003. She was my date to the senior ring dance, and luckily she's been my date for over 20 years now. Katie, I love you, and I love our sweet family. My two daughters, Sutton and Eliza, I love you both, and I'm glad that you're here today. Although that we've been calling this Daddy's Special Luncheon for the past couple of weeks, this recognition and honor is so much more than a special luncheon. The introduction of Beyond Methodology tells us where I learned to teach was at the dinner table, listening to the older brothers talk about their experience in the classroom. Some of us have had that opportunity to actually sit at the table and learn directly from the Brothers of the Sacred Heart. I really have not had that experience. Most of us have not had that experience. For me, Brother Martin is where I learned to teach. My very first experience with Brother Martin came in the fall of my 7th grade year at St. Dominic's School. I remember meeting Brother Jean at an admissions home visit at the home of one of my childhood friends, and then seeing him again a few weeks later at Brother Martin's open house. Brother Jean, as you can imagine, just as he always did with everyone, he remembered my dad and he remembered me after only meeting us once. And I was amazed when he called me by name when I saw him at the open house. I immediately felt at home and knew that Brother Martin is where I wanted to be for the next 5 years of my life. As a student at Brother Martin, I learned so much from all of my teachers, and I continue to learn from them now as their colleague. Thank you for being my teacher, Mr. Corrente, Brother Neal, Ms. Zimmer, Mr. Valiente, Ms. Broussard, Mr. Filati, Dr. Melito, Mr. Lupo, and Mr. Caparata. Each one of you taught me more than you will ever know. I might not remember all the details of a Civil War battle, and I certainly do not remember all the geometry or the chemistry. But I do recall how much each of you took care of me and my classmates. Each one of you taught me how to teach. As an 8th and 9th grader, I got involved in the Key Club, where I first met Mr. Maver. Although I was never a student in his English class, I learned much from Mr. Maver then, and of course, I do now. I will never forget that while participating in a Key Club service project, Mr. Maver encouraged me to participate in Brother Martin's drama club. I was nervous about joining the club, because although I had enjoyed being a part of a couple of grammar school and community theater productions, I did not know anyone who did theater at Brother Martin. Mr. Maver pushed me to join the group and to give it a chance. I'm so glad that I did. Some of my most memorable experiences and closest friendships as a high school student came from my time in the Brother Martin Auditorium. Mr. Maver, thank you for teaching me that each encounter with a student is an opportunity to make a positive impact in his life. As a student, I also got involved in the chorus, where there were extremely talented singers like Drew Harrow and Ryan Acito, and not so talented singers like me and Jerry Urson. In chorus class, Mr. Caparata did not just prepare us for competitions or concerts. He pushed us to improve daily. This is something that all of us are tasked to do with our students. Mr. Caparata, thank you for teaching me how to meet a student where he is and help him improve. As a junior at Brother Martin, I remember Mr. Moran coming to 11th grade classrooms to discuss a new elective class called the Teacher Cadet Program that he would teach during my senior year. I was instantly intrigued by the class, although at the time, I had not really thought about becoming a teacher. After one follow-up conversation with Mr. Moran, I was sold. So I signed up to take the class, and I guess you could say the rest is history. Mr. Moran's class was incredible. We read books and had discussions about leadership. We learned about instructional strategies. We learned about lesson planning, and we actually taught a week of 8th grade geography. I loved it. I knew then that being a teacher was exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. In just a few weeks, our juniors will select courses for next year, and I'm so excited to have the Teacher Cadet Program as a senior elective for the 2024-2025 school year. I hope to inspire at least one of our students the way Mr. Moran inspired me. Mr. Moran, thank you for sparking my interest in education and for being a role model, and thank you for being here today. I started working with the drama club while in school at UNO. I thought my job was to direct shows. Working alongside David Joyner taught me that we did much more than just direct shows. We were teaching kids. We were helping them grow up. We were providing a sanctuary for our students. During the many years I worked with Mr. Joyner, one of my favorite things to do, I think we all have this in common, one of my favorite things was to sit outside and wait for all of our students to get picked up after rehearsal. As we sat and waited, David and I would talk. We would talk about anything and everything. We'd talk about life. We'd talk a little bit about the show. We would talk about teaching. We'd talk about the best ways to instruct our students, the best ways to assess our students. That bench outside the Benson Mall became a classroom where I learned to teach. Another one of my favorite memories from working with David for many years was during the week a show opened. We would rehearse with our students, send them home, and then he and I would spend late nights in the auditorium putting the finishing touches on the set. When we were finished working, we would just sit. Nothing stopped us from going home and going to bed, but we would just sit there and look at our work. Work that we were proud of, and work that we were happy to do because we knew our students would see it the next day and that it would motivate them to take their performance to the next level. I honestly do not have the words to describe my gratitude for David Joyner. David, thank you for everything. I'm so glad that you're here today. Ryan talked a little bit about my application process. There's a couple of details that he left out. So my tryout, or we could call it my audition. I remember finishing a Friday of student teaching at Grace King, and I had a voicemail from Mr. Nuseline. And Mr. Nuseline knew that I was already working part-time with the drama club, and I guess someone told him that I had a key to the building and a key to the auditorium. So in the message, he let me know that he left the world geography textbook on the stage for me to use over the weekend, and that I would be teaching Mike Capo's world geography class the following week. And he told me I'd be teaching the Arabian Peninsula. So I rushed to get the textbook to brush up on everything I needed to know about the Arabian Peninsula. And this again was a few weeks after Mr. Nuseline and Dr. Spieg and some others came to observe me while I was student teaching at Grace King. Ryan talked about the walk of geography, and where we walked Elysian Fields. So I looked it up, and that's a 5-mile walk from the river to the lake. And I must have done a great job assisting on that field trip that a few days later, I was invited to join the faculty on a second walk of Elysian Fields with the other half of the 8th grade class. Looking back on my tryout, like Ryan said, I realized that it was not an obstacle, but an opportunity. During my first year of teaching, Mr. Newsline observed my class, and after the observation, he told me that I was doing all right. Coming from him, that was high praise, making me feel like I was on the right track. I'm extremely grateful to Mr. Newsline and Mrs. Williams, who was the social studies department at the time, to Chris Vignair, who's the social studies department chair now, and to all of the members of the department for allowing me to work with you. I learned so much about teaching during the 5 years we had our 7th grade program. During those years, the 7th grade teachers met before school once a week to ensure we surrounded the youngest students in the building with all the support they needed. From my perspective, the teachers also surrounded me, a brand new teacher, with all the support that I needed. Kieran Oakwin, Carlos Bogron, Joey Barnitz, Chris Beal, Don Guidry, Jimmy Gatti, Debbie Broussard, David Rhodes, Ryan Skida, and Peter Valiente were all part of that 7th grade faculty. All of you taught me how to be a Brother Martin teacher. My 7 years in the discipline and attendance office taught me so much about teaching. I learned from Justin and Scott Corrente as I prepared to work in that office. And as I already mentioned, working next to Ryan taught me so much about being a teacher and a leader. Jerry, Josh, and several former disciplinarians are in the room today. When a student is at his worst, the disciplinarian has to be at his best. At times, as you can imagine, this can be easier said than done. I truly felt like my job as disciplinarian was to do everything possible to help young men facing challenges. Sometimes when I felt that I'd done everything I could, or that a student's poor choice was so severe, I had to bring that student in front of the discipline committee. A handful of people in the room today have served on this committee. It always amazed me to witness the committee members teaching a young man and preparing him for life, even if he would no longer be one of our students by the end of the meeting. I learned so much from the committee members. Many of you might assume that my favorite part of being the disciplinarian was being booed at pep rallies while walking out on the court while the band played Darth Vader's Imperial March. Or maybe it was the special announcements about flooding on Mandeville Street. Or some of you would have guessed that I enjoyed walking around with a tape measure as we contact traced during COVID-19. My favorite night of the year was without a doubt graduation. To call the name of a young man who struggled to get to that point and watch him walk across the stage to receive his diploma was an amazing experience. I've been fortunate to serve in the faculty formation office for the last couple of years, working alongside Thomas Maver. In this role, I'm tasked with working with all of you, especially our newest faculty members. I hope that I've been able to assist all of you somehow. Observing classes, leading learning rounds, serving on the academic council, and orienting our new teachers have taught me how to be a better teacher. I do not doubt that I have learned more from the faculty than I could ever possibly teach all of you. Partners in Mission says that every experience that students have in school teaches and forms them in some way. Mr. Rando often echoes Brother Jean's words that it's all about the kids, and everything we do teaches. For us, everything we do certainly does teach our students. Everything we do also forms us. 13 years ago, I did not have that outlook. Over the years, I've shifted my perspective, and now I embrace everything as an opportunity to improve. Attending faculty meetings, participating in technology training sessions, and going on retreats are obvious formation opportunities. Watching a colleague teach, talking to a veteran teacher about an upcoming project, sending and receiving an encouraging text message, and laughing at the lunch table in the Benson Mall with friends are also formative experiences. As Thomas Maver recently said to me, John Devlin would say that these are not things we have to do, but they are experiences we get to have. I challenge all of us to embrace these experiences. I learn to teach from all of you every single day. Whether you've served Brother Martin for over 40 years or just 3 weeks, all of you teach me daily. Our faculty and staff are truly incredible. All of you are worthy of special recognition. Thank you for letting me sit at your table. Thank you for sharing your experiences with me. Thank you all.